as weird as this sounds, if you have a credit card that's been open for a while and you're wanting to switch credit cards, don't close that old credit card. Hi guys, welcome back to Tea Time, where I talk about all things related to realty. Today we are going to talk about credit. So something that's very important to many people, but I don't think a lot of people truly understand the basis of what makes up your credit. If you're having struggles with your actual credit score being low, what can you do? What steps can you take to improve that credit score? And then for those of you that have teenage children, I'm gonna give you a couple hacks to help them establish and build credit and get them started off on the right foot. So let's dive right in. So what exactly are the components that make up your credit score? There's actually 3 of them. And I have notes here because I thought it'd be easier than trying to remember. So the biggest component of your credit score, which is 35%, is actually your payment history. So pretty obvious, right? Pay your bills on time, and 35, that's going to contribute to helping 35% of your score. You don't pay your bills on time, that's going to also contribute to negatively at a weight of 35% of your score. So pay your bills on time. The longer you go without paying your bills, the more of a detrimental impact it has to your credit score. So if you're 30 days late, that doesn't have as much of an impact as if you're 90 days late. So just something to keep in mind. The ratio of your balances to your credit limit on your credit cards come into play too. As a general rule, you want to try to keep these under 30%. So if you have one card that you're at 50% and another card that you're at 20%, that 20% isn't really helping you because they're going to average out that 50 and 20%, and that's where you're going to be at. So making sure that you are below the 30% threshold on all of your cards is going to be important, and that holds a weight of about 30% itself of your credit score. The third one here is the length of time that your credit has been open. This carries a weight of about 15%. So as weird as this sounds, if you have a credit card that's been open for a while and you're wanting to switch credit cards, don't close that old credit card. Cut it up, don't use it, but don't close it, because that shows your length of credit history as being longer. And if you close all those accounts that have been open for a long time, and now all you've got is new accounts, that can have a negative or detrimental impact to your credit score as well. So the fourth thing is your credit mix. So that's the type of loans that you have. They don't want to see that you have all credit cards. They don't want to see that you just have auto loans, right? We want to have a mix or a variety of loans. For a lot of us, that's going to be a mortgage, auto loans, and credit cards. And then that's about 10% of your weight. And then the last one at another 10% of your weight is your credit inquiries. So if you make a lot of inquiries in a small period of time, that's a red flag and can negatively impact your credit score, because that says, hey, I don't know if they've got the money to pay for things. They are applying for all this credit. If you have a credit score that's not so great and you're looking to raise your credit score, first of all, if you're wanting to buy a home, there are situations where you can get into a home with a credit score as low as 580. In a lot of cases, pretty much anything over 640 or 680, we can find lenders to get you approved, but sometimes as low as 580. But let's say you've got some scores and you're just working to get that better score. Some things that you can consider doing: obviously, pay your bills on time, bring your accounts current. That's going to be your biggest factor, right? If you have a credit card that you use, maybe you don't technically carry a balance in terms of being charged interest because you pay it off every month. Make sure you're paying it before that credit card reports to the credit bureau. So like for my husband and I, we use a card every month and we put several thousands of dollars on this card. But when I look at my credit report, I always have a balance, even though I always pay my balance off in full, because of the timing of when we send our credit or when we send our payment versus when it's reported to the credit bureau. It has that higher balance at the time that it's sent to the credit bureau. And if I would just make that payment a week earlier, that would pay off the balance and it would show that zero balance at the credit bureau. And so that's a hack that you can use to reduce your credit scores too. If you're carrying a balance and it's because you're not technically, you're carrying it, but you're paying it off every month, just adjust the time that you're paying off your balance. If you have higher balances, look at the cards that have those over 30% threshold and see, like, if you're paying more on the cards that have the lower threshold, maybe reduce that payment a little bit to the minimum payment until you can pay down the other card and get down to that minimum threshold, or that 30%, not minimum threshold, but that 30%. And that can help you from that perspective as well, reducing your score. Obviously, you don't want a ton of inquiries, so don't go applying. I know that it seems awesome that you can get 10% off today if you sign up for this Lululemon card. Or, oh, hey, wait, Apple, we're going to get a new phone. And if you sign up for this card, you're going to get whatever percentage off. It sounds great. But in theory, if you're doing that all the time, it's not looking good on your credit. You're getting a lot of hits on your credit score because of all of those inquiries. If you are applying for things, try to understand too, is it a soft pull or a hard pull? Because the hard pulls are the ones that impact your credit. So if you're doing like a pre-qualification for a card, you'll see in small print, sometimes it'll say it won't impact your credit score, that it's a soft pull until you go through that application process and actually have to answer some additional questions to apply. Same thing I know with some refinancing, mortgage refinances. And I think actually some lenders now with mortgages have a way to do a soft pull. So they can kind of give you an idea up front without actually impacting your credit score. So just something to think about there. Talk to your teenagers about why it's important to pay your bills. Explain to them what credit is. If you're not having these conversations, you're really setting them up for failure. I don't know how much they talk about credit in school, but I know my kids didn't really know about credit until we talked to them about it. And so the important things to talk to them about are not taking out credit that you can't afford, using credit responsibly, not as a tool to just dig yourself in debt. You don't need everything just because you can finance it. Those are obviously important things, but then also making sure that they are responsible and making their payments on time and explaining to them why that's important. And what is your credit score used for? I don't think kids necessarily understand that how making one late payment can impact your credit score, and how you might not be able to get a house or a car, or you might have to pay a higher interest rate because your credit score isn't good. So what are those impacts of credit scores? Have those discussions with your kids so they can understand and set themselves up for a successful financial future. But one thing you can do to help jumpstart your kids building credit is add them as an authorized user on your credit card. Most credit cards are going to report your payment history onto your authorized users. So if you have a card that you can add your kids to, that's a great way to do it. Now, I will caveat this with, it needs to be a card that's been open for a while. You don't want it to be a newer card. It needs to be a card that you're paying off the balance every month, or that has a low balance that's less than 30%. Don't put their name on a card where you're carrying a high balance. That's not going to help them. And then obviously make sure you're paying your card on time all the time. Like, if you're not paying your card, don't put your kids on it. That's not helpful at all. That's another thing you can consider too, is if you're going to be taking out a loan for something, you can maybe put their name on the loan and co-sign for them, especially if you're buying something for them, like a car or college, those kind of things. Like, it's okay to take out some smaller loans and co-sign. That's going to help them build that credit up. So with my son, when he was 21, he was able to buy a house because we utilized the authorized user methodology, and we had co-signed for the car that he purchased when he was like 18 years old. And so being able to just help them build that credit, get a leg up, so that they can purchase a home. So him buying a home at 21 years old, he went into it and 2 years later was able to sell that home. I think he had like $50,000 or $60,000 in equity that he was able to roll over into a down payment for a step up home after that. And so it's just kind of giving those kids the stepping stones that help them build their wealth, and also helping them understand how to be responsible fiscally, so that they can really enjoy the benefits of having good credit, and what comes with that, right? And you want them to be responsible because you don't want them to dig themselves in a hole. You don't want your kids having to file bankruptcy early. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth when it comes to credit. If you guys have additional questions about credit, I am more than happy to talk to you. I'm definitely not the expert when it comes to credit repair, but I have lots of great resources and contacts that I can get you connected with that can help you with credit repair. I have lots of great lenders that have a good overview of what it would take to get approved for a mortgage. So I love the lenders. I like to say, they don't say, no, you can't buy a house. It's just not now. Let's get a plan so that you can buy it later. And I'd be happy to get you connected with those people and just get you guys set up so that you can enjoy the fun world of home ownership. That's what I got today. So hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week.